Okay, so I got the transmission here. I already got the bell housing off. Here's our pump, and our pump holds the piston for our B1 frictions. Let's go ahead and take this pump off. And as you see that the pump went up a little bit, and the pump being up like that, we are able now to move our frictions. If you see here, if I go down on the pump, let me just tighten up 2 bolts. This one, and maybe this one. Now we have that bind up. See that here? Now we need to figure out what's causing this bind up. You see the pump just went up? As a matter of fact, let me see. I gotta have a seal stuck over here. Oh man, it's missing the seal. Yeah, it's missing a seal right here. And that's for lubrication for the differential. It would have been stuck either here or here, which is the bottom one, is this one here. Okay, that's no big deal. What's over here? Yeah, right here. This seal goes right here. Okay, well, let's take this pump off. I'm going to rotate it this way. And in order for this return spring to come off, I'm going to have to take the rain sensor off and the rest of the stuff off. Let me see. I already got them all loose. Yep. There we go. Get these bolts out of the way. And as you see here, here's our pump washer, and this is our piston. This piston is the one that compresses this return spring and compresses the B1 frictions. In order to get this out, I need to take this rod off. But let's see if we can have a peek in here. And it's not supposed to be like this. Something's misassembled here. Something is. Let me take this differential off. Well, it's not gonna come off. Let me take this off right quick. I'm gonna put you guys on pause. I'm gonna take this off, and we'll get in there deeper. Okay, so you just take a little roll pin off and slide the whole thing out, and now we're gonna be able to take this off. And this is the way it comes out. You have this little cutout for the differential. And you should have your wavy up here. It could be that the frictions, if they put an overhaul kit on this one, that the frictions are not the right thickness. We have a wavy. And I am curious about this first plate here. You know what, let me take this whole assembly, just comes off. And here you have the K1s and the K3s. These are the K1s, and the K3s are right here. And these are splined. These are splined here, and these are splined on the bottom. So these two are splined together. Remember I was talking to you about this, the way these are assembled. Now let's go ahead and take this off. Let's get all of our frictions out. Now it looks like it is the way it's supposed to be. And it does have the step down, and that's the way it's supposed to go. Now we need to figure out why this thing is binding up like that. Something is causing it to bind, and we need to figure that out. Either they broke the pump, or it's missing a pump gasket, which not all of them take a pump gasket, but this one might have. I'm going to need to try a pump gasket on this and see if that will correct our clearance problems here. But as you see, I mean, they have the factory. The reason I'm saying that it could be a pump gasket problem, these are the factory frictions. These are not new. And this being the factory frictions and that being tight like that, I mean, something is causing it not to, the clearance not to be right, to be so tight like that. So it's probably missing a pump gasket. Anyways, I need to get an overhaul kit for the seals. I mean, they did, seems like they put new seals on it. They used a lot of that silicone, even on the seals, on the insulation of the seals. You see here, the case looks kind of dirty. A lot of transmission shops do that. I mean, they just open it like this, change parts in there or look in there, and they close it back up and put it back in, and they call that a rebuild, which it's not. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get at least an overhaul kit for this. I'm gonna go all the way down and inspect this and see what else I'm gonna need here. I know I need to fix that plate over there with the valve body gasket issue. And being a molded plate, on some kits they don't offer valve body gaskets, but I think Precision does. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for a Precision kit and get this thing fixed up and going down the road. Okay, so here we are. I got an old pump gasket I had laying around. Before we go buy any parts, we need to figure out what happened here. So we're gonna try this pump gasket here. This is an aftermarket pump gasket. Let me take this clutch pack off. Remember, I was explaining you when we were at the car that one of the steels has a step. So here we are. It has a little step. And you cannot go wrong because it has a separated notch right here. It has 4, 4, and 4, and one separated notch, so you cannot really misassemble it. And I really thought that this was, you know, misassembled or installed incorrectly or in the wrong position. And I mean, looking at it, it's not possible. But I mean, the transmission was on the car, and I wasn't 100% sure. So anyways, let's go ahead and assemble this. The way it goes, here's the separated notch. Here's the other 3 notches there. So we're going to go ahead and install this clutch pack here. We're going to install the this cage right here, which is actually the return spring, and apply for the B1 frictions. We're gonna leave the K1 and the K3 out of the case. Our concern is this clutch pack here, so let's go ahead and start assembling this thing. Okay, so another steel. Once we determine that everything is gonna be okay and everything's gonna work fine here, then I'm going to go ahead and disassemble the unit, clean it up, and probably just get an overhaul kit, inspect the rest of the frictions. If the rest of the frictions are good, keep in mind that I'm not doing a rebuild for these guys. I'm actually just figuring out what the hell's going on and repairing or correcting the issue. Now, this right here, if you look at it, it has a little cutout right here. That's for you to install it, and you know, it kind of clears the differential there. And it does have some tabs, 3 tabs here that would actually go down on the drum assembly. All right, go ahead and drop it all the way down. Here's our pump. We got our 2 sealing rings, and this is the apply piston for the B1 brake. We're going to go ahead and install this gasket. Well, let's do it without the gasket, and you will remember the way it was binding up. I know this transmission is a little dirty, still got some fluid in it. Let's go ahead and put, I got 2 real long ones. You have 2 guide pins, so the 2 real long ones goes on the guide pins. The medium-sized one goes here on this raised embossment there, and then the 3 short ones go on the shallow parts there. So we're gonna do it without the gasket right now. Right now, I have just compressed the frictions, and as you remember, I mean, you can barely move these things. Okay, now let's go ahead and remove our pump and just add the gasket. Now, rule of thumb, I mean, according to specifications, not really specifications, but I mean, if you don't know your clearance, wherever you get your information, it's supposed to be 0.010 of an inch per friction. Sometimes you get a lot of frictions in one clutch pack, and that's a lot of clearance, and it will go out of specifications anyways. I think the minimum should be 0.35 of an inch or 30 thousandths. Anyways, let's see what's going to happen once we install this gasket here. There's no other way. There's no adjustments. There's no shims. These are not selectable. The steels are not selectable. There's not a lot of things out there for this unit. And as you see here, I'm already liking this. I don't have a lot of spring tension on the pump, which that's a good sign. Medium here, 2 guide pins, 3 short ones. Remember, we're figuring out why the B1 was, the clearance was too tight and causing our bind up. Okay, we'll go ahead and flip this thing over this way. Let's get our little screwdriver here. Oh yeah. How much clearance we got there? I don't know, but you can actually open up, and actually the tip of my screwdriver can go in there now. We got probably like 20 thousandths of an inch. I hope we have a little bit more because they don't have selectable pump gaskets for this thing. And remember this filler gauge? I have it at 20 thousandths. Let's see where you're going to be able to get this thing in there. Oh yeah. And I got side movement. Let's go ahead and take that pump gasket off and just measure the thickness of that gasket and see what we got. Okay, let's see. Come on now. I need you. Come here, Pilgrim. All right, let's turn this thing on. Zero it. What I got here? Look at that. This is the clearance that we got, 30 thousandths of an inch. 35 thousand is the minimum, which with 30 thousandths, I think you'll be all right. There was a little bit of movement, but I mean, you could actually move the frictions a little bit, just a little hair, maybe like 3 or 4 thousandths without the pump gasket. So I think that's going to put us at 35, which that would be just fine. Anyways, this gasket is old, it's compressed, as you see here. It's an old gasket. So once we get the new one in there, it's not going to be compressed like this. I mean, once we torque it, yes, it is going to get compressed. But this being compressed and then we tighten it up again, it'll make it smaller. But this is a 30 thousandths of an inch gasket. So whatever the way that your transmission comes in, some of these 09Gs, they don't have a gasket on the pump. And some of them do have the gasket. They look different than this though, this being an aftermarket. But anyways, if it has a gasket, put a gasket on there. If it doesn't have a gasket, then you don't need a gasket. It just depends on the way it is built, and it depends on the clearance. You know, really, what's going on here. Now, we did not have an issue with rotating this assembly here. But we could have had an issue rotating this drum right here. And once we assemble it, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the pump does have a washer, and I don't think it is selective. I mean, but I don't see that it was tight either. I mean, you would see a real marked if the pump was tight, and I don't see evidence of that. So we got that down. But remember, we had forward engagement and then release. We would engage and then release. This is the K1 frictions. It's kind of tricky to get this snap ring off. I'm gonna go ahead and get it off, and then I'll get back to you. Once I get the snap ring off, then we're gonna look at this frictions. I haven't taken them out yet. We're gonna take a look at these frictions to see how they look, and if they are damaged, then we need to get frictions for this. Okay, so we got K1 frictions here, and K1 frictions are applied in forward engagements or in drive, first gear, and the B2s are applied in Tiptronic mode for engine braking. The sprag needs to hold. So really, it was engaging and disengaging. Really, the problem was the clutch feed for the K1 friction. That could be a valve body problem. The frictions, they look good. If you see that, they're the factory frictions, but they are in good shape. Now K3, on the K3 drum, reverse applies here on the K3s. You have K3 applied with the low reverse or the B2 brakes for reverse. And what we see here, they're a little bit dark, or should I say discolored. Not too big of a deal. Probably had an issue in the beginning, you know, with reverse engagement. K3, it's on in third, fifth, and sixth gear. Sometimes what I see is that this bushing sometimes spins and comes off, and you will have reverse issues. So you would have, you know, sometimes hard part issues. The K2 drum goes inside. I have not taken that off yet. The K2 drum, if you have issues with the sleeve inside the case, sometimes it spins and you don't have feed oil going into the K2 drum. You're not going to have fourth, fifth, or sixth. So those are some issues. We'll talk about those later. But for now, we know that our K1s are good. I need to get some K3 frictions. The B1 frictions that I thought they were going to be bad because of the bind up, they're good. They're in good shape. I need to get a overhaul kit or paper O-rings and seals. Not only for the pump gasket, but for the valve body gasket that I need. Remember what they did here? They took the portion of the edges of the valve body gasket off, and I have the B1 accumulator in this corner. No, in this corner. So I have some bleed off on the B1 feed oil. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this thing cleaned up, get it ready, get the overhaul kit, and get it built up, put it back on the car, go for a test drive, do a factory relearn or a factory reset, and reset our throttle body and our kick down and, you know, all that good stuff that needs to be done on the Volkswagen. Alright guys, well let me go ahead and get the stuff in here to work on this thing, clean it up, and we go from there. Okay, so I bought this overhaul kit, and the overhaul kit I bought it because of the pump gasket. And if we see, it's in here. I haven't opened it up yet, but here's the pump gasket. To adjust those, you know, those frictions. Remember that the gasket measured 30 thousandths of an inch, and that actually got me a little bit of clearance on those frictions. I'm gonna go ahead and just do the gaskets, and remember the separator plate, the valve body gaskets come in here too as well. But I find out that I had some burnt clutches, so I ordered some loose clutches, and this is the way they came. But then I was looking in my my parts, and I actually had a set already. And I mean, I didn't even knew I had it. Well, I didn't remember that I had that set, but I got these clutches loosely because there are some burned clutches. I'm going to go ahead and put the transmission on the bench, and I'm going to show you what clutches were actually burned up. And those clutches got burned up, for what was caused with it. The guy supposedly bought 2 shift kits because he messed up the first one, on the solenoids, and he got another one, to see if he could make it better. And they had 2-3 bind up. We saw that the frictions were kind of almost compressed, so that was an issue there. And I mean, they actually got it burned up. All right, let me get the unit on the bench, and I'm going to show you the clutches that were burned. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, put it back together, and then we're going to go ahead and put it back in the car. Okay, so here I have most of the components that came out of the transmission on the bench. I don't have the valve body or the differential or the final drive, but as you can see, these frictions are burnt. This is 4, 5, and 6. Low reverse as well. They are burnt up. Now, when I was doing the teardown with you guys on this transmission, I really didn't went down further than here. These frictions are down here, and then our K3 is under there too as well. These are that's the piston that goes on the case, and I have already showed you this ones. These are good. This goes in this drum. They look in good shape. I have already shown you this ones as well, and they're okay. And these, of course, are the ones that were a little bit too tight. We got this one here, goes here, and it goes in a certain way. But you get the point. That's the way it goes. And these, even though they were bound up, they're not as burned as I thought they would be. But anyways, this is the condition of the unit. We see that these are smoked, 4, 5, and 6. And remember that it was binding up in 4th gear. And here was the bind up. You will try to go. That's why they burn. I mean, you press on the accelerator, you try to make this thing go. And I mean, that's what burned these. Low reverse as well, burn up. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling this thing. And once we start assembling this clutch pack, we're gonna measure the clearance on this. I mean, normally textbook, I know that a lot of you guys that go to textbook, I work by experience, 10 thousandths of an inch per friction. So these probably had like 60 thousandths of an inch, and it's okay, I mean, textbook wise, but you want to have it a little bit more tighter. I believe that less than 30 thousandths is going to be probably a little bit too tight, but our concern is this friction, this clutch pack right here, and we need to have the proper clearance on this one. All right, well, let me get started on this. I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning up the case, getting all the silicone residue on it, and start assembling this unit. Okay, so you all can remember what was the issue with this thing. I already put the pump here, and I put the new frictions on the B1 brake, and I tightened up 3 bolts, and I don't have a pump gasket here. I don't have one. And as you see here, I mean, I cannot even move this, if you remember that. Now, I have this feeler gauge. Now, I
I got a 30 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge. It shows 28 thousandths, but I mean it's about 30 thousandths. Well, that's what this says here, 30 thousandths. I know my battery's a little bit low here, but 30 thousandths, let's just leave it at that. Okay, so we cannot move here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take the pump out. I'm going to remove these 3 bolts that I have here tightened up. You can already see that the pump went up a little bit. Go ahead and take all the bolts out. Let's go ahead and remove the pump. All right. So in here, that's all I got. I just got the frictions and I got the return spring. And remember that this piston is the one that compresses those frictions. All right. Now, I have here an old pump gasket that I had laying around. It's 30 thousandths of an inch. This is an uncompressed area. This one here is the one that came in the kit, and actually this one here looks like the OEM gasket. Let's go ahead and measure this one. We're going to measure where the gasket portion is, 35 thousandths of an inch, 33. It's about 35 thousandths. It's not. It's uncompressed. Let's check this one again. About 30 thousandths of an inch. All right. Let's go ahead and use this old gasket again. And then we're going to try to fit our feeler gauge in here. We're going to try and fit it in here to see if 30 thousandths feeler gauge will actually go in between here. All right, well, let's go ahead and set this pump gasket. It's easier if you put the gasket on the pump, kind of hold it in place and then lower it because you have the guide pins. You know, you have 2 guide pins here. All right, let's go ahead and just align that guide pin over there. Kind of like align it there. You can feel a little tension, not a whole lot. All right. Now I'm going to use the 2 longer bolts, or the ones that go where the guide pins are at. And then here there's no guide pin, but the embossment is higher. So let's go ahead and tighten up this pump with this old gasket. It could be an issue as well that the piston is not correctly seated on the return spring. But we can already see end play there, which is that's what you want to see actually. And we can fit a 30 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge, and you can still have, it's a little bit over 30 thousandths. Remember the gasket measured 35 thousandths. We have a little bit of side play, so that's plenty. That's enough. 30 thousandths of an inch. I know that, you know, textbook, like I mentioned before, 10 thousandths of an inch per friction, and we have 4 frictions, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that'll put you about 40 thousandths of an inch. It's under 40 thousand, but it is over 30 thousandths. So that's going to give us a good, I didn't want to use this for the test because I don't want to compress it. This is going to go on the final assembly. You know, put it on there, torque it, compress it, and that's it. It's going to stay there. So we're using this other gasket, you know, for testing. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish assembling this unit. I already have the low reverse frictions here, or the B2 clutches. The K3 clutch drum is in there, the ones that were burned up. As you can see, these are already there. Let me bring the blower so you can see here is where you apply these 2 components. That's our K3. And our B1 is right here, our B2. So you can see that it's compressing. That's what you want to hear. This is lubrication. K3. All right, let me go ahead and finish assembling this unit. I'll get back to you. All right, well, I have marked here the applied circuits for the B1, the K1, the K3, B2, and K2. I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up. I used a yellow marker. I mean, for reference for you guys. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and B1 brake is the one that we had the issue here. Now you can see that, I mean, I can move it. Let's go ahead and apply B1. So we are checking B1 brake, K1 frictions. That's K1 frictions. Now the K2 frictions. That's K2 frictions. Oh, that's K3 frictions. I know I did set K3 in the back. You know, sometimes you get it confused, and I have it marked there. Okay, so K3, K2, and B2. B stands for brake. K stands for clutch. I know that here in the US we use a C, you know, for a clutch, but this is not a US unit, so they put a K on it instead of a C, which is clutch 1, clutch 3, clutch 2, brake 1, and brake 2. So what's the difference between a clutch and a brake? Okay, a brake, the steels are lugged into the case, or they are stationary, like the B1. Actually where the clutches are at, they are lugged into this piece right here, and it has a snap ring on it, and this piece does not turn. So whenever this the B1 comes on, it actually breaks the drum or stops the frictions from spinning. Same thing here. This is the brake 2, the second brake. The low reverse applies, piston applies, it holds the clutch, and it stops the planetary from spinning. The clutches, they're always rotating. They're rotating, and it depends on what comes on and in what combination is to make all 6 gears. This is a 6-speed automatic front wheel drive. The clutch will come on, but it will actually be like a reaction on the planets to change gear ratios. Same thing here, same thing there, but these are brake or released, and the clutches, they could be spinning at different speeds. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish this unit, and we'll get back to you. All right, guys, well, I'm done with this unit. The next step is to install it and do a test drive, bring it back to factory settings, and then do the basic settings as well. Well, y'all wanted to see what does it take to diagnose a problem like this, especially when somebody else has worked on it. I'm telling you, it's not easy when somebody else works on it. When you're doing the job for the first time, they come in, they have a problem, you already know what's wrong with it, you tackle the problem, you do the rebuild, put it back in the car, and deliver it to the customer. Problems like this right here, or some of you guys have been rebuilding your own transmissions, and then ask me some questions and what do I think it is. Honestly, I mean, if nobody has touched it, I would tell you exactly what to look for. But when somebody else touches the transmission and then it doesn't work, or something else besides the original problem is occurring, it's very, very hard to diagnose, especially like that, you know, asking a question and trying to answer it in that manner. So this is what it takes. It's a lot of work, it's tedious work, but you have to do more like a process of elimination. You have to check your electronics, like I mentioned, I mean, this guy bought 2 shift kits, and the first one he ruined the caps on the solenoids. I think he said that he didn't grind them all the way down. So he bought another one, and same thing. They ended up burning the unit. Now I have it. So this is what it takes. I mean, y'all wanted to see what does it take to diagnose a unit like this, and I mean, this is a perfect example. I know this is a 09G out of a Volkswagen, and it's not as easy as a 4L60, but the process is the same. I know this is a little bit more advanced for you guys that are barely learning the 4L60s, 4R75s, and you know, the simple units like that. It takes a lot of know-how on these units. It's completely electronic. I mean, as you see, you have 6 linear solenoids. You got 2 on-off solenoids, and then you have a temperature sensor in there. And as you see the valve body, the way we tore it down, I mean, there's a lot of little things that you can miss, you know, and cause a problem like this. Professional transmission rebuilders like me, I mean, sometimes they call me and ask me for, you know, for help, and I mean, I help them, you know. And these are transmission rebuilders. They've been rebuilding, some of them more than I have. I mean, I've barely been doing this for 24 years, counting this year. That's 24 years, and I mean, I got my uncles that they've been building for 30 some years. I know some other builders around the area. They have been rebuilding transmission for more than I have. And sometimes they get stuck, and I just lend them a helping hand. And this is what it takes. This is what it takes. I mean, some of you guys are on the automotive industry, but on the engine side or drivability side, and you want to get into this. I hope that you watch this whole video. I know it's kind of long. I'll probably split it in a couple of sections. But this is what it takes. If you think that you're going to be doing as much work as this to try to fix the transmission, I mean, you're more than welcome. Come on over, do the crossover from drivability to transmission repair, and this is where you're going to know, I mean, your true potential. All right, well, like always, I mean, my name is Hiram, and next video would be, you know, the basic settings, factory settings, and the drive cycle. Probably we're gonna film as well the Tiptronic switch, you know, the removal and installation of the Tiptronic switch. And all right, guys, well, I thank you guys for being my subscribers, and I also thank you for watching.